Well, it's Friday the 20th of November. This is episode 2046 of 301 Permanently Moved to Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded and edited by me, at the JMO. On last week's episode of Come Internet With Me, I was joined by the host of obscure theory podcast Hermetics. James, or rather Metanomad, and I searched ventriloquist dummies. During our hour of interneting, we tried somewhat unsuccessfully to get to the bottom of the differences between marionettes, puppets, and ventriloquist dummies. In one article we found was a single paragraph that mentioned the following. In 15th century Myanmar, Burma, marionette troops were employed by the king to highlight and correct the misbehaviours of family members and save them embarrassment. Ordinary citizens also used the dolls as vehicles to respectfully express their dissatisfaction with the king and his court. Now, I can't read something like this and not investigate, so I spent the last few days reading about Burmese marionette theatre, or yok thai, which translates as miniatures. The Burmese marionette tradition traces its earliest performances back to the 1400s. The blog we found was a little free with its details. It was in fact popularised in the 1700s under the reign of Singu Min, 1756 to 1782, who, by the way, was deposed by his cousin and executed by his uncle at the age of 25. 2 years before, in 1780, Min was introduced to marionette theatre by his Minister of Royal Entertainment, U Thor. From then on, it became an important part of royal court life during the Konbaunang dynasty, which only ended with the invasion and colonisation by the British in 1885. As an aside, I also read about the 23-tongue Singu Min bell, or Mahaganda, which means great sound, commissioned by the same short-lived king. The British stole it from the Shwedagon Temple during the First Anglo-Burmese War. However, the ship that was carrying the bell to Calcutta sank in the Yangdun River. After several unsuccessful attempts to salvage the bell, the British gave up. Then, a group of Burmese peasants successfully raised the bell with hundreds of bamboo poles tied underneath the bell. The air trapped in these poles helped float the bell to the surface at high tide. Anywho's, back to the marionettes. I studied Indonesian shadow puppetry way back at university, and similarly to the story cycles of Wayang Kulit, Burmese marionette theatre has a fixed number of characters or figures. In the case of U Thor's theatre, 27. There are 4 categories of drama that these 27 characters can perform: historical dramas, religious stories and fables, modern drama, and birth stories of the Buddha. The marionettes are about 50 centimetres high with 18 or 19 wires and require a great deal of dexterity from the puppeteer. The performances are accompanied by live music. As an indication of the importance attached to puppetry by the royal court, the Konbaunang dynasty created the Ministry of the Royal Stage. A full company of puppeteers is more than 10 people, with 3 types of performers in the troupe: those who only sing, those who manipulate the marionettes, and those who sing as well as manipulate. The artists held fixed shares as their salary, depending on their role. They weren't paid in cash money, instead they were paid in precious gifts and objects. The royal court had 4 stages, with its own 10-plus troupe of performers. The Great Royal Stage, with a troupe personally selected by the king, the Lesser Royal Stage, with its puppeteers selected by the Queen or Crown Prince, the Crown Princess's Stage, and finally the Royal Court Stage, which played for the courtiers. Only the Great Royal Stage was allowed to be accompanied by 2 orchestras, placed to the left and right side of the stage. Each of the other stages had only 1. The marionettes were so popular that formal folk dance theatre borrowed dances from the puppet stage. Even today, the talent of a dancer is judged by their ability to imitate the movements of a marionette. Performances of the puppets served as political conduits between the ruler and their subjects. Puppet troupes travelled from town to town and brought news of the capital and other places. They were also used as a way to express opinions to the king. Sometimes they would use a play to make a subject's plight known to the ruler. Once, a soldier died, and his wife was forced by the commander of his regiment to serve in his place, and accompany the troop wherever they had to go. The name of the unfortunate widow was made known to the king by means of a pun. Then the king inquired about the matter, and ordered the woman to be sent home immediately. All puppeteers think of their puppets as live entities. Without this belief, it would be difficult to make them truly alive on stage. Before they were used, a ceremony offering food to the patron goddess of performing arts must be held. For this ritual, the puppets are brought to life. When the strings are unravelled, the puppet must immediately be made to move as if breathing. Now, you can imagine, I find all of this fascinating, and I do wish my friend Ariel was still alive. To discuss all this, and the importance of puppet theatre spreading the gospel, marionette means Mary doll, after all. I also mentioned puppet theatre recently in episode 2035. They are, it seems, beginning to capture my imagination, so more on puppets likely soon. If you regularly enjoy my writing or podcasts, please consider supporting my work at thejmo.net/support.